Maybe lately. You still look like yourself on the outside. You still get up. You still answer messages. You still do what needs to be done. You still smile when someone asks if you are okay. But deep inside, something feels different. Something in you has changed. And you do not know how to explain it. The things that used to make you feel certain do not feel certain anymore. The roles you once carried so naturally now feel heavy. The patterns you used to follow without thinking now feel too small for your heart. And maybe, in the quiet moments, when no one is asking you to be strong, you have found yourself wondering, why do I not feel like myself anymore? Not because you have stopped loving God. Not because you have given up. Not because you are trying to walk away from His will. But because the old version of you does not seem to fit anymore. And the new version of you has not become clear yet. That is a tender place to be. It can feel like standing in front of a mirror and seeing the same face. The same eyes. The same life from the outside. But feeling like something inside has shifted so deeply that you no longer know how to name yourself. You may think, I used to be more confident than this. I used to know what I wanted. I used to be able to carry things without feeling this tired. I used to understand where I belonged. And now? You are not sure. Maybe you are standing at the edge of a new chapter. But instead of feeling excited, you feel unsettled. You sense that something old is ending. But you cannot yet see what God is forming next. You feel the pull of the past. But you also know you cannot fully go back to the person you were before. And that can feel frightening. Because when you no longer recognize yourself, it is easy to assume you are lost. It is easy to think something must be wrong with you. It is easy to look at your own changing heart and say, maybe I am drifting. Maybe I have lost my direction. Maybe I am not as faithful as I thought I was. But take a slow breath. Not every unfamiliar place is a place of failure. Not every inward change means you are far from God. There are moments when the shepherd leads you so gently that you do not notice. At first, that He is not only changing your direction, He is restoring your soul. He is touching the places in you that learned how to survive, but never learned how to rest. He is softening the parts of your heart that became guarded. He is loosening the definitions you carried for too long. He is showing you that you are more than the version of yourself that kept everyone comfortable, held everything together, and never admitted how tired you were. Maybe the reason you do not feel like your old self is not because you are falling apart. Maybe it is because God is no longer asking you to live from that old place. Maybe the strength you used to depend on was mixed with fear. Maybe the confidence you had was tied to control. Maybe the peace you thought you had was really just familiarity. Maybe the person you called me was carrying burdens God never asked you to carry forever. And now, in His mercy, He is inviting you into something deeper. Not rushed, not forced, not loud. Just a quiet restoration, the kind that begins beneath the surface. So, before you call yourself lost, come gently before the Lord. Before you judge the season too quickly, bring Him the confusion. Before you try to force yourself back into a version of you that no longer fits, let God meet you right here. Pray softly, Lord, meet me in the place where I do not recognize myself. Meet me in the quiet confusion. Meet me in the fear that I have lost my way. Meet me in the ache of not knowing who I am becoming. Help me not be afraid of the work you are doing in me. If you are restoring my soul, teach me to stop fighting your hands. If you are leading me into a new chapter, help me not cling to an old identity just because it feels familiar. Remind me that I do not have to understand everything to be held by you. Now pause for a moment. Place your hand over your heart if you can. Breathe slowly and say this. Not loudly, not perfectly, just honestly. God is restoring my soul. Say it again. God is restoring my soul. You may not feel completely steady yet. You may not know what comes next. You may not recognize the person God is forming in you. But you are not alone in this becoming. The shepherd has not left you in the middle of the road. And before you call yourself lost, let us look gently at what God may be asking you to release. And before you call yourself lost, maybe it is worth asking gently, what if you are not losing yourself? What if you are outgrowing a version of yourself that could no longer carry the peace God wants to give you? That is not an easy thing to feel. Because the old you was familiar. The old you knew how to survive. The old you knew how to keep going. The old you knew how to smile while carrying weight no one else could see. The old you knew how to be needed, how to be useful, how to stay strong, how to avoid disappointing people, and maybe for a long time. That version of you helped you make it through. So when God begins to loosen it from your life, it can feel confusing. It can almost feel wrong. You may wonder why you cannot go back to the way you used to think, the way you used to respond, the way you used to carry things without asking many questions. But maybe the old you was not evil. Maybe the old you was tired. Maybe the old you was built in a season where you had to protect your heart, manage everyone's expectations, hide your needs, keep peace in the room, and prove that you were okay even when you were not. Maybe you learned how to be strong before you learned how to be honest. Maybe you learned how to perform peace before you learned how to receive it. Maybe you learned how to keep moving before you learned how to rest in the presence of God. And now, the Lord is not condemning that old version of you. He is not shaming you for how you survived. He is gently inviting you not to live there forever. It is like wearing an old coat. At one time, it covered you. It helped you walk through cold places. It became familiar on your shoulders. You knew its weight. You knew its shape. You knew how to move through life with it wrapped around you. But now, it feels too tight. It no longer fits the person God is healing within you. Still, taking it off can feel painful. Because even when something is heavy, it can still feel safe simply because it is familiar. You may be grieving more than a habit. You may be grieving an identity. You may be grieving the person people expected you to be. You may be grieving the version of you who always said yes, always stayed quiet, always carried the burden, always found a way to make things work. And maybe you are afraid that if you release that version of yourself, people will not understand you anymore. Maybe they will ask why you have changed. Maybe they will not know what to do with your boundaries, your quietness, your honesty, your need for rest, your desire to follow God in a way that no longer looks like pleasing everyone. That fear is real, but let this truth come softly. You can honor who you were without staying trapped there. You can thank God for the strength that carried you through the last chapter without making that strength your prison. You can bless the old season without forcing your soul to keep living inside it. God is not asking you to despise your past. He is asking you to stop letting your past define the limits of your future. So pray with an open heart. Father, I bring you the old version of myself. I bring you the part of me that learned to survive by staying strong. I bring you the part of me that felt valuable only when I was needed. I bring you the part of me that said yes when I was exhausted, stayed silent when I was hurting, and carried things you never asked me to carry alone. Thank you for keeping me through that season. Thank you for not leaving me when I did not know how to rest. But Lord, help me not build my whole identity around survival. Help me release the definitions that came from fear, pressure, and pain. Teach me who I am when I am not performing. Teach me who I am when I am not proving. Teach me who I am when I am simply held by you. Now, take a slow breath. Imagine placing that old code into the hands of God. Not throwing it away with anger. Not pretending it never mattered. Just surrendering it. Letting Him decide what should be healed, what should be released, and what should be carried forward in a new way. Because God wastes nothing. Even the old version of you contains evidence of His mercy. You made it through things that were not easy. You kept going when your heart was weary. You prayed when words were hard to find. You stood through days when no one knew how much it cost you. But now, perhaps the shepherd is leading you into a deeper kind of peace. A peace that does not require you to hide. A peace that does not demand that you be everything to everyone. A peace that allows you to be honest, human, dependent, and still deeply loved. So today, let this become your small act of faith. Write this sentence somewhere you can see it. I can honor who I was without staying trapped there. Say it when guilt tries to pull you backward. Say it when fear tells you that change means failure. Say it when the old self feels easier than the healing God is offering. And remember this. When the old self begins to loosen, fear may whisper that you are losing your way. But maybe you are not lost. Maybe the shepherd is restoring your soul. And when the old self begins to loosen, fear often comes close with the question, am I lost? Maybe you have asked that quietly. Maybe not with those exact words. But somewhere deep inside, you have wondered why you do not respond the way you used to. Why the things that once motivated you no longer move you the same way. Why certain conversations feel different now. Why certain places that used to feel like home now feel too small for your spirit. You may wonder, Lord, what is happening to me? I used to know who I was. I used to know what I wanted. I used to know how to carry this. But now, I feel unfamiliar to myself. And because the new chapter is not clear yet, the enemy may try to make this uncertainty feel like failure. He may whisper that you are drifting, that you have lost your direction, that if you were really close to God, you would feel more confident by now. But take a slow breath. Confusion is not always rebellion. Tenderness is not weakness. Changing does not mean you have been abandoned. Sometimes, the shepherd leads you through a valley that does not look like progress at first. Not because he wants to frighten you, but because he is guiding you away from places that were shaping your heart in ways you could not see. And in those moments, God's leading may feel like loss before it feels like clarity. It may feel like restlessness before it feels like peace. It may feel like being stripped of old names before you understand the new grace He is giving you. In Psalm 23, verse 3, Scripture says, He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness, for His name's sake. Notice the order. He restores. Then He leads. The Lord does not only care about where your feet are going. He cares about the condition of the soul that is walking there. He is not just trying to get you into a new chapter. He is restoring the heart that will live in that chapter. He is not only opening a road in front of you. He is healing the person who must walk that road. Maybe that is why this season feels slower than you expected. Maybe you wanted God to show you the next step clearly. But He keeps touching your heart first. You wanted direction, but He is restoring your soul. You wanted the plan, but He is healing the fear that would have carried the plan in panic. You wanted an answer, but He is bringing you back to the shepherd. And that is not wasted time. That is mercy. Because what would it profit you to enter a new chapter while still carrying the same old fear? What would it do to walk through a new door while still believing you must prove your worth? Hide your weakness and control every outcome. God loves you too deeply to only change your circumstances and leave your soul untouched. So, maybe you are not lost. Maybe you are being led more gently than you expected. Maybe the unfamiliar feeling in your heart is not a sign that God has stepped away, but a sign that He is restoring places in you that had grown tired, guarded, and afraid. Pray with me. Lord, I confess that I have been afraid of this unfamiliar place. I have called myself lost because I do not feel like the old version of me anymore. I have judged my own heart because I do not have all the answers. But today, I ask you to help me see this season through your presence. If you are restoring my soul, help me not resist your hands. If you are leading me in paths of righteousness, help me not demand the whole road before I trust you. Teach me to stop confusing discomfort with failure. Teach me to stop calling growth a loss. Teach me to stop calling your gentle work in me confusion. Now pause for a moment. Let the words of that verse settle over your heart. He restoreth my soul. Not just my schedule. Not just my plans. Not just my outward situation. My soul. The part of me that became tired from carrying too much. The part of me that learned to move without resting. The part of me that became afraid to change because change once felt unsafe. The shepherd sees that part of you, and he knows how to restore it. So, today, let this be your small act of faith. Do not speak harshly over yourself in the middle of restoration. Do not say, I am lost, when what you may need to say is, Lord, lead me gently. Do not say, something is wrong with me, when what may be true is, God is healing something deep in me. Do not rush to define a season that God is still unfolding with care. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe slowly and whisper, Lord, restore my soul and lead me gently. Again, Lord, restore my soul and lead me gently. You may not recognize every part of yourself right now, but the shepherd recognizes you. He knows your voice. He knows your fears. He knows the road ahead. And when you cannot tell whether you are lost or being led, stay close enough to hear him call your name. And as the shepherd leads you gently, he may begin by touching the names you have carried for too long. Not your real name. Not the name he calls you by love, but the hidden names that life, fear, pressure, pain, and people may have placed on you over time. The strong one, the useful one, the one who never needs help, the one who keeps the peace, the one who cannot disappoint anyone, the one who must always know what to do, the one who holds everything together, even when their own heart is quietly falling apart. Maybe no one ever said those names out loud, but you learned to live under them. You learned what people expected from you. You learned which parts of your heart were easier to hide. You learned how to be accepted, how to avoid conflict, how to keep moving, how to appear steady even when you were tired. And for a long time, those names may have felt like identity, but now they feel heavy. You are beginning to realize that being known as strong is not the same as being whole. Being needed is not the same as being loved. Being useful is not the same as being free. Being admired for carrying everything is not the same as being restored by God. Take a slow breath. The Lord is not taking away who you are. He is removing what was never meant to name you. Imagine a clay vessel in the hands of a patient potter. Over time, labels have been pressed onto it. Some came from family. Some came from old wounds. Some came from survival. Some came from success. Some came from trying to be what everyone needed. And now, the potter begins to remove them. Gently, carefully. Not because the vessel has no value, but because its value was never in the labels. The value was always in the hands that held it. That is what God may be doing in you. He is not stripping you of meaning. He is restoring you to truth. He is not leaving you empty. He is making room for peace. He is not erasing your story. He is freeing your heart from definitions that were too small for a child of God. Maybe you used to define yourself by how much you could carry. But Jesus never asked you to carry your whole life without Him. Maybe you used to define yourself by how well you could keep everyone comfortable. But peacekeeping is not the same as peace. Maybe you used to define yourself by being the dependable one, the quiet one, the forgiving one, the one who always understood. But even good things become heavy when they are no longer flowing from love, but from fear. So, if you feel strange in this season, maybe it is because the old names are falling away. Maybe God is letting you feel the emptiness beneath them, so you can learn that you are still held without them. You are still loved when you are not performing. You are still precious when you are not producing. You are still chosen when people do not understand the changes in you. You are still guided when you cannot explain the road. You are still His. Pray slowly. Jesus, remove every name I accepted that did not come from you. Remove the name that says I am only valuable when I am needed. Remove the name that says I must be strong all the time. Remove the name that says I cannot rest until everyone else is okay. Remove the name that says I must keep proving I am worthy of love. Remove the name that says change means I am failing. Lord, I release the pressure to be who others expect me to be. I release the fear of being misunderstood. I release the old definitions that were built from pain, survival, and approval. Teach me to receive my identity from your love. Teach me to be honest without shame. Teach me to be gentle with myself while you restore my soul. Teach me to live from peace, not performance. Now open your hands before the Lord. Let that simple posture become a prayer. You may not know how to explain everything God is removing. You may not even know what to call the new work He is doing in you. But you can surrender the old labels one by one. Say this quietly. I release the names fear gave me. I receive the peace Christ gives me. Again, I release the names fear gave me. I receive the peace Christ gives me. And after you say it, do not rush to fill the silence. Let God meet you there. Because when old names fall away, the heart can feel empty for a moment. You may feel exposed. You may wonder who you are without the role, without the pressure, without the constant striving, without the old way of being strong. But empty does not mean abandoned. It may mean God is making space. Space for rest. Space for truth. Space for a softer heart. Space for a deeper peace. Space for the new chapter to be carried by a restored soul, not an exhausted one. So, do not be afraid of the quiet place where the old definitions no longer fit. The shepherd is not only leading your path, He is restoring the one who walks it. And when the old definitions begin to fall away, the heart may feel quiet in a way that almost feels uncomfortable. You may not know what to do with the space. For so long, you knew how to live from pressure. You knew how to respond quickly. Explain yourself. Carry responsibility. Manage expectations. Keep moving. And keep proving that you were okay. But now, God is slowing something down inside of you. Not to punish you, not to hold you back, but to restore places in your soul that have been moving too fast for too long. This is the quiet work of the shepherd. He does not only open a path in front of you, he restores the heart that will walk that path. And sometimes, restoration feels like a pause before it feels like progress. It feels like God gently asking, "Will you let me heal the part of you that keeps running, even when I am offering rest?" Maybe you wanted the new chapter to arrive with clarity. You wanted a strong feeling of confidence. You wanted to wake up one morning and suddenly recognize who you are becoming. You wanted the fear to disappear, the old patterns to break instantly, the next step to make perfect sense. But the Lord often works more deeply than that. He comes like a quiet stream flowing through dry ground. Not loud, not rushed, not forceful, just steady, softening what has become hard, reaching places that have been neglected, bringing life back to soil that once learned how to survive without tenderness. And maybe that is what he is doing in you. He is softening the place that became guarded after disappointment. He is healing the place that learned to expect rejection. He is calming the part of you that feels responsible for everything. He is teaching your soul that you can be faithful without being frantic. You can care without controlling. You can love without losing yourself. You can walk into a new chapter without carrying the old fear. Because God does not only want to change what is around you, he wants to reshape what is within you. If the outside changes, but the heart remains ruled by fear, then even a new chapter can feel like an old prison. You may step into something different and still carry the same anxiety, the same striving, the same need to prove yourself, the same fear that you will not be enough. So the shepherd restores first. He restores your soul before he asks your feet to walk farther. He brings peace to the inner room before he opens the outer door. He teaches you to receive from him before you try to carry what comes next. That is not delay without purpose. That is love with wisdom. Pray with me. Lord, reshape my heart before you reshape my circumstances. Heal what would make me carry the new chapter with the old fear. Touch the places in me that still believe I must prove myself to be loved. Touch the places that panic when I do not have control. Touch the places that become anxious when people misunderstand me. Touch the places that are afraid to rest because rest feels unsafe. Father, restore my soul. Make me gentle where I have become guarded. Make me steady where I have become frantic. Make me honest where I have been pretending. Make me soft without making me weak. Make me wise without making me hard. Teach me to move from peace, not pressure. Teach me to obey without rushing. Teach me to trust without demanding every answer first. Now, take a slow breath. Let your shoulders drop. You do not have to become the new version of yourself all at once. Growth in God is often quiet before it becomes visible. A field does not become fruitful in a single moment. First, the soil is softened. The stones are removed. The roots begin to reach down. The hidden work comes before the harvest. So, do not despise what God is doing beneath the surface. Do not call this season empty just because it is not loud. Do not call yourself stuck just because the deepest changes are happening in places other people cannot see. Today, your small act of faith may be simple. Do not rush to criticize yourself. Do not make a decision from panic. Do not force yourself to explain a process that God is still forming. Just pause and ask, Lord, what are you restoring in me? Ask it before you react. Ask it before you return to an old pattern. Ask it when fear tries to hurry you. Ask it when the silence feels unfamiliar. And then listen. Maybe he is restoring your ability to rest. Maybe he is restoring your courage to be honest. Maybe he is restoring your peace after a long season of striving. Maybe he is restoring your trust after disappointment made you guarded. Whatever he is restoring, let him work gently. You are not behind because God is working slowly. You are not failing because healing takes time. You are not lost because you cannot name the new chapter yet. The shepherd knows where he is leading you. And as your heart begins to receive peace again, the new chapter no longer has to be entered in panic. And now, as this prayer comes to a quiet place, maybe you still do not have every answer. Maybe the new chapter is still unclear. Maybe the old version of you still feels close enough to return to, even though you know it no longer fits. Maybe the person God is forming in you feels too unfamiliar to trust yet. You can sense that something has shifted, but you cannot fully explain what it is. And that can make the heart feel afraid, because part of you wants to ask, Lord, who am I now? Who am I if I no longer live from pressure? Who am I if I stop proving myself? Who am I if I no longer carry the names fear gave me? Who am I if the old way of being strong is not the way you are asking me to live anymore? Take a slow breath. You do not have to create a new identity out of confusion. You do not have to rush to understand the person you are becoming. You do not have to force clarity before peace can come. The shepherd knows how to restore your soul. In Psalm 23, verse 3, Scripture says, He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Let those words rest over you slowly. He restoreth my soul. He does not only repair what others can see. He restores the inner places, the tired places, the guarded places, the places that learned to survive without rest, the places that forgot how to receive love without earning it. And then he leads, not with panic, not with shame, not with pressure. He leads in paths of righteousness. That means you do not have to run into this new chapter as someone frantic, afraid, and desperate to prove you are ready. You can walk as someone being restored. You can move as someone being held. You can enter what is next without dragging every old fear with you. So pray with me now. Father, I come before you with open hands. I give you the old definitions I have carried for too long. I give you the name that said I must always be strong. I give you the pressure to be useful before I feel loved. I give you the fear of disappointing people. I give you the habit of hiding what hurts. I give you the need to recognize myself immediately. Lord, I confess that I have been afraid of this changing season. I have been afraid that if I no longer feel like the old version of myself, then maybe I am lost. But today, I ask you to speak truth over that fear. Restore my soul. Restore what anxiety has worn down. Restore what pressure has hardened. Restore what disappointment has made guarded. Restore what shame has tried to name. Lead me in the path that belongs to you, not the path that only protects my image, not the path that only keeps everyone comfortable, not the path that is built from fear. Lead me in the path of righteousness. Lead me into honesty. Lead me into peace. Lead me into trust. Lead me into a life where I no longer have to abandon my soul just to keep moving forward. Now pause. Let your shoulders soften. Let your hands open. You may not know exactly what God is making new in you. You may not know how to explain this chapter to the people around you. You may not have the words yet. That is okay. Peace does not always begin with explanation. Sometimes peace begins with surrender. It begins when you stop trying to force the old self to fit into a place God is gently leading you beyond. It begins when you stop calling yourself lost just because you are being restored. It begins when you allow the shepherd to lead at the pace of grace. So, today, take one small step. Not a dramatic step. Not a perfect step. Just one faithful step. Sit quietly for 1 minute before you respond. Tell God the truth before you tell everyone else you are fine. Release one old name that no longer belongs to you. Refuse to make fear your guide. Whisper, Lord, restore my soul and lead my next step. And when the old self tries to pull you backward, speak gently to your heart. I can honor who I was without staying trapped there. When fear says you are lost, answer with faith, the shepherd is leading me. When confusion says you must become someone new by yourself, remember this: God is not asking you to invent yourself. He is restoring you to Himself. You may not fully recognize the person God is forming in you yet, but you are not abandoned in the becoming. You are not behind. You are not without a name. You are held by the shepherd who restores the soul. And the one who restores you knows how to lead you into the chapter ahead.